Boylesports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, which is, of course, the Road to Cheltenham Challenge review show. I've been hauled in at no expense spared to get me in for the review of the 4 days of Cheltenham Barry. And on today's show, we're going to be looking at some of the big talking points from Cheltenham 2025. We'll even be looking ahead to 2026 at Cheltenham, which I believe on this show today. And Barry, tell us all about, firstly, of course, the lucky winners to our competition. And young Theo is still continuing to raise up the bar for Hollow Street Hospital.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank everyone for the support on If Theo Can, Hollow Street to Home. Obviously, Dave, we're trying to get up to the 100k in the month of March. We're also trying to get up to, past 2k in terms of funds. We're nearly there. We're a little bit more advanced than what the screen shows there. We're almost at 2k raised for Hollow Street. They were very, very good to me, I suppose, my family, and most importantly, Theo as well. They do a fantastic job, Dave, and it's unbelievable up there. And, you know, we're so grateful to everyone who's contributed thus far. In terms of the overall competition, Dave, of course, we did say on the eve of the festival, whoever had the healthiest looking portfolio. Now, big shout out to Mark Mackay, who does his own videos, a fantastic, of course, a contributor to YouTube, and he had a fantastic festival with his selections. But we did say it was the healthiest looking portfolio heading into Cheltenham that was going to take out the prize. And that was Mark Lewis from Kildare, great follower of the show, and better days ahead. He had him in the team sheet at 16-1. Very unlucky, finished second in the, of course, Brown Advisory. Majborough, 14-1 for the Arca. That was an absolute corker in there. And that was a big player. 6.5 as well, 4-1. She ran an absolutely massive race. And the big Westerner, he had her in the team sheets at odds of 8-1. She's one definitely. We're going to discuss her and her performance. She's definitely one to take forward. Jericho the Reppin was in there at 8-1, ran a big race in the Pertemps. Overall, if you look at it, I suppose a healthy portfolio heading into the festival. Mark Lewis from Kildare, we're going to give the prize to you. The results, we're very, very proud on the Champ.ie podcast to say that, I suppose, for the 4th season in 5, that we've come out on top. Just about, but it keeps the running profit nice and healthy since we started the show back in 2021, plus 22.55 points in profit. So, I suppose not just a bit of crack and insight on this show, Dave. We take great pride in actually winning as well.
Absolutely, Barry. And it is a great part of the Champ.ie podcast that Road to Cheltenham each and every year. And very, very well done again on coming out on profit. Right. There you can see there were the selections of Barry and the guests throughout the series, and some very, very nice winners in there and some very nice prize selections as well. All didn't win, but there was certainly plenty of them that banged on the door. Right, we'll kick off then, Barry, because we're going to go right into the heart of Cheltenham 2025 and with our review. And we're going to start off by talking about Kopek de Boer. What an engine this horse has, and potentially could be some star of the future, couldn't he?
Oh, I think so, Dave. When you consider, you know, the type of horses that were, you know, off the bridle at the top of the hill, and to think that this horse, you know, tree out was still absolutely tanking, and you know, Paul Townend was having a job to try slow Kopek de Boer down. I think the big point really here is he's a freakish engine, and he's going to take serious whacking. You know, when he sees a fence over 2 miles in an Arkle chase. Fences will definitely settle him down as well. I think heading into next year, you know, that's the big thing heading into Leopardstown for the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival. People were mentioning is jumping. But, you know, he was very, very keen on all 3 of his starts now over hurdles. I think fences will settle him down to do what he done. Given the fact that, you know, he was still, you know, fighting Paul Tree out. I thought it was a serious performance. And William Money, it looked like the race was going to set up for our selection heading into the Supreme Novices Hurdle. He's a very, very talented horse in his own right. Took another step forward, William Money. But for me, he was never beaten to winner. And he's a really, really good horse.
He really is a very good horse. Another really good horse that probably left one of the softest Arkles behind him in a long time is Majborough, didn't he? He just, like, the way this horse came back up the hill after making the mistake, that was so eye-catching. But what an opportunity missed by Majborough, Barry, in the Arkle this year.
To me, Dave, he disappointed because of the short ones heading into the week, he was probably, my short price banker. I couldn't see how he was going to be beaten, especially looking at the opposition. Not that they were, they're bad animals, but I thought he was going to be in a completely different league. You mentioned he threw it away. That's the headline here, really, because I mean he blundered 3 of the last 4 fences. 5-year-old's record heading into the Arkle, I think, didn't read so good. I thought he was an exceptional 5-year-old heading into this season. And, I thought his jumping at Fairyhouse was good on debut. Leopardstown, I'm disappointed. I thought he was going to learn plenty from that Leopardstown run. And I was just disappointed how not only did he throw the race away with his jumping, but I actually don't think he really sparked on this occasion. Maybe it was the ground. People are saying, would he be a better horse on softer ground? He looked odds on at the top of the hill. I wouldn't be rushing genuinely to forgive him too handy, certainly over fences.
I think you're being hard and being honest, and that's just, this is all a game is all about opinions. But a horse that makes a mistake like that and still shows the engine he showed up the hill, I'd be forgiven, and I think we'll see a different Mashborough before the end of the season, romping home somewhere, whether that be in Punchestown or even at Fairyhouse. I probably would imagine Fairyhouse would be the better option for him. But no, I'd be certainly in the forgiving camp. I'm going to go against you on that one, Barry, on Mashborough. I think he'll definitely be back in the winners enclosure before the end of the season. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is, we've done some talking about Lossiemouth all year, and I know you and many more were a firm believer that she should have been in the champion hurdle. My take was that Willie Mullins and team knew that Stateman was working the house down the week before. They said we can win the Mares with Lossiemouth, and we can win the champion hurdle with Stateman, which almost happened.
Well, Willie Mullins, don't forget, of course, got 10 winners at the Cheltenham Festival. So if you look at Close Sutton stats, I mean, this looked a penalty kick, didn't it, for Lossiemouth? I thought she was going to be a massive player in the champion hurdle. And on the evidence, that we have afterwards, I thought this was actually, given the fact, by the way, that she fell in that Grade 1, of course, against the Geldings at Leopardstown, I thought this was actually performance of the week. A lot of people are giving it the fact to file. We'll discuss that later on. I thought the race, just a little bit of a spoiler alert, I thought the race maybe fell apart, the Ryanair chase. This one, though, I mean, Lossiemouth, this was push-button stuff. This must have given Paul Townend the absolute thrill of a lifetime. And he could have done anything he wanted. She was in the plum position, raced in second. Was a little bit keen, as she always is, over 2.5 miles in the early part of the race. But she jumped brilliant. She just looked the winner the whole way around. And I just think, I think she should have been in the champion hurdle. It'd be interesting to see, another year on, will she maybe go down that route once again next season? I just thought she was absolutely brilliant. I mean, turning for home, he could have went right, he could have went left. He decided to go up the middle. He could have put her anywhere in the race. She was just, that good on the day. And, I think the bottom line is Jade de Grugy was back in second. She's rated 151 and she made her look like a 120 rated handicapper. Simple as that, Dave. Right.
We look ahead to the performance of brighter days ahead. And look, bubbles burst, Barry, in the champion hurdle. Now the question I suppose many are asking is she one of the most overrated in training at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. Look, her only 2 defeats, Dave, have actually come at Cheltenham. So I think it's looking likely she doesn't act around Cheltenham. But I mean, the race really fell into her lap, didn't it? I mean, there was just no excuses. Constitution Hill came down early in the contest, and if you're on brighter days ahead, which I was, I have to admit, on the day, you were thinking that you were quids in, really. She couldn't quicken the third time. She came down the hill. She just looked a little bit outpaced. The ground, I'd say she'd want it easier. I'd say she'd want to step up and trip. She'd probably want the fence as well, and she'd probably never want to run at Cheltenham again, Dave, because I think at the bottom of the hill, it looked to me for a second year in a row, she puked at the bottom of the hill. Don't think she liked the look of it.
Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Yes, and looking at Haughty Colour, he certainly looks an entry Grand National horse in the making, Barry.
Yeah, he does, and he's probably going to hit to Ireland this season. Didn't Rebecca Curtis say, of course, that I think that is the plan. So it'll be interesting to see. Would be a massive player at Irish National. I think nice ground. Most of its wins, Haughty Colour, have come on a little bit of nicer ground. I think Rebecca Curtis has made no secret, the regard she holds Haughty Colour in. She even mentioned him up there with the likes of O'Whalen's boy, who won the Grade 1 3-mile novice contest at the Cheltenham Festival. So, I mean, he looked very well handicapped, didn't he, heading into Cheltenham? And he probably needs at least one more win Rated 142 now off the back of the Cheltenham win. So he probably needs one more win in somewhere in the next 12 months to guarantee himself to get into the entry national. But he's an entry winner, jumps, gallops, and stays 3 mile 6. There's very little not to like, and I'd say it will be once this season is finished, once the Irish national comes, after the Irish national, I would say they'll be working back from entry next year.
Excellent. Right. What about the turners, Barry? It was some race, wasn't it? And I think the front 3 home are very, very useful. But you seem to think the horse to take out of it most is Final Demand.
I think so. With a view to next year, Dave. I mean, I think the one thing we definitely learned after the turners is Final Demand needs 3 miles and he needs soft ground. He's a very, very good animal. I mean, he was my banker heading into the week. I probably thought, looking how the race was run and looking at how the race developed, I actually came out of the race thinking, okay, he's running an absolute cracker. I mean, he jumped the last, basically upsides. The New Lion, he ran an absolute cracker. I mean, people are talking about him as a champion hurdle horse for next year, the New Lion. I think the ground and the trip and the way the race was run definitely suited the New Lion more than it suited Final Demand. And it's a next year. I mean, how many Cheltenham festivals in the last 5 years, for example, have we had soft ground on the Wednesday? We didn't have it this year, and I think if we had got soft ground, I think he would have won the race. I think the ground is going to be important to this horse going forward. And he just couldn't quicken that third time, could he? He was there to be shot at. As I said, he jumped the last upsides, but the New Line just had an extra gear on the day. And I mean, if he's a champion hurdle horse, Dave, he'd want to be beating a future Gold Cup horse on quick ground over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham, wouldn't he?
And I think he is a champion hurdle horse, would you believe? I think this New Lion is the real deal. And I think over 2 miles, he'll be a much, much better horse because if you look back on the race and how he had to be held up over this trip, it was a really, really good piece of riding by Harry Cobden. But when you look, I think at a faster 2 mile pace, I think this New Line really, Barry, could become a champion hurdle contender in 2026 at Cheltenham.
Yes, so hello, Barry Doyle from the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's Premier Horse Racing Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Byrnes, and we're here in Sligo Town, David, in EJ Menswear, and EJMenswear.com. Fantastic season ahead. EJ has kindly partnered up with us to be the men's fashion partner with Champ.ie for the season. And David, we're suited and booted. You're looking sharp.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And this fantastic bundle and this outfit we're wearing is costing $2.99. It sets you up beautifully for the race season ahead, which includes Leopardstown at Christmas, Tiestas Day at Gowran Park, and of course, if you want to go even bigger, you can get togged out for the Cheltenham and entry festivals later on in the season.
Absolutely, and of course, check out the Champ.ie podcast right through the season, Mondays and Thursdays, and look at the offer, the tailored bundle for the racing season, $2.99, blazer, shirt, chino, socks and shoes. What's not to like, lads? Check out ejmenswear.com to find out all the race.
Yes, absolutely. And a big thank you to all our sponsors on this year's Champ.ie podcast. EJ Menswear down in Sligo. Big shout out to the lads. And of course, do go on to ejmenswear.com for all your fashion ahead of Fairy House, Punchestown still to come, and even entry as we get ever closer to that. And well done to Stephen Thorne as well. Shamrock Thoroughbreds, he's had a tremendous season. And to Gowran Park Racecourse, plenty more to come, of course, down in Gowran as they head in to the flat season. And Boylesports, our betting partner, as always. Great to have them all on board. Well, Willie Mullins may not have won with Ballyburn, who for many was a disappointment at Cheltenham, but there's 2 angles to look at in that Ballyburn race. Firstly, Ballyburn, and then secondly, Lecky Watson, and where he could actually go next, because that was some performance, despite Ballyburn maybe disappointing, Barry.
Lecky Watson, the saviour of the Champ.ie podcast, of course, rode the Cheltenham Challenge 2025, Dave. Obviously got us into the green, 16 points into the bank, and for the challenge brought me up to 9.5 profit for the week, and the series up 3/4 of a point, as we can see. So only for Lecky Watson, Dave. God bless Lecky Watson, that's all I'd say. Would offer a bigger price on the day. The race probably, Dave, in fairness, to Ballyburn, the tactics, Willie Mullins alluded to it after the race. I mean, don't give up on Ballyburn, because I actually think the tactics just did not suit him whatsoever. And look, Paul Town had a fantastic week, 4 winners, champion jockey again. I don't think this was his finest ride of the week. In truth, the horse was very, very keen. I'd just like to see Ballyburn over 3 miles given a more aggressive ride him. I don't think you'd have to be aggressive on him, but I think just let him stride on, let him use his stride. And that was something I think, Paul was taking him back and maybe trying to reserve, because he can be quite keen in that early part of the race. But I just think going forward, you're going to see different tactics on Ballyburn. And don't give up on him over fences just yet. And don't give up on him this season landing a big pot, because I just think, to finish 8 lengths off Lecky Watson, considering looking at how the race was run. I mean, it was run very, very steady to the third last. It did turn into a bit of a dash, soft ground 3 miles, given more of a positive ride. I thought Ballyburn, I think the headline here from Champ.ie anyways, don't give up on Ballyburn just yet, Dave, because a lot of people are talking about stairs hurdle next year already. I'm not entirely sure they're going to go straight back over hurdles with him. So, don't give up just yet.
Right. What about the training performance of the week? We've put that down to Jimmy Desoy's win at Cheltenham for Willie Mullins.
This was some training performance, Dave. To be fair, because Jimmy Desoy, had form last year at the festival. I was behind Ballyburn in the Turner's Novice, and was like the race coming into that contest. But he always travelled like the winner on his first start of the season, of course, in the Curl Cup. And to do this, I thought, in a Curl Cup, and he's now rated 153. He's been put up to 153. That would surely put him in the mix, Dave, for a stairs hurdle next year. I just thought the further he was going, the better he looked. And to do this, it was a serious training performance and a competitive handicap around Cheltenham, the Curl Cup, the hurl, the hustle, the bustle. I mean, this was obviously a plan from a long way out. I know he went off 16-1, Dave, on the day, but there was plenty of shrewd judges really fancy Jimmy Desoy to be banged there. And he was, and he won. And I think now it's looking at Jimmy Desoy moving up in class. And I love the way he goes through his races. He's a lovely style of racing. And I actually think at 16-1, he could be a dark horse for a stairs hurdle next year.
Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Rocky's Diamond ran a cracker in the stairs for the Queelies, Barry, and he certainly enjoyed his experience around Cheltenham with the stairs hurdle.
That was the headline, really, wasn't it? I think Rocky's Diamond really enjoyed himself, and to finish 4th in the stairs hurdle on just your 7th start on the racecourse, massive credit. 5 years of age, Rocky's Diamond. When I spoke to Dick Queely heading into the spring, just about Rocky's Diamond, and I asked him, do you think Rocky's Diamond can win the stairs hurdle? He said, I think he won't be disgraced. And this horse is obviously going to get stronger next season. I thought, this was one of the eye catchers of the week. Looking at how this horse, jumped, travelled, enjoyed himself, and he stuck at it as well. Made a mistake at the last day, but ran on again up the hill. And for a first experience at Cheltenham, to finish 4th in the stairs at 5 years of age, I thought it was a massive run. And I think it could be potentially overlooked even in the market at this point in time. I thought it was a massive run by Dick Queely's charge, Rocky's Diamond, and one definitely to keep on the right side in that division. The
company's sergeant, of course, Barry, ran an absolute belter, and in your opinion, he should have maybe won this race at Cheltenham.
I thought so, Dave. I thought so. I thought the best horse might have lost this race. I know Jaguar seemed to have plenty in the tank at the finish as well, but just looking at how the race developed, and I suppose where the company sergeant lined up on the inside, he was buried away in against the rail, and suddenly at the top of the hill, he's 7 wide at the top of the hill. He circled the field, basically, giving away plenty of ground. He was only beaten 2 lengths. And for him to, I suppose, still have the energy to try fight off Jaguar off the back of the last, considering the ground that he lost the whole way around. I just thought it was certainly a horse that you would put in the tracker and say that I think there's a big pot in this horse. It was only his 10th start over fences in his career, and it was only his 2nd start for Gavin Cromwell, who on the circuit, was giving this horse a big chance. He ran an absolute cracker. Conor Stonewall should safely this time back again. He might have, waited, I suppose, and sat and suffered coming down the hill and, waited for the gap step here, but he circled the field here and he gave away plenty of ground, Dave. I would say that he was one of the most unlucky losers of the week.
Well, he might have been one of the most unluckiest. One of the most impressive, to my eye at least, was Fact to File in the Ryanair. And the big question is, could he be an Allaho 2.0 for the future?
I think the race actually fell apart a little bit. Jungle Boogie Protector at Ile-France, they cut each other's throats up top. And for that reason, I thought, Fact to File, albeit he was absolutely excellent, I did think the race fell apart.
Right. Well, the final 2 we're going to take a look at were 2 horses that didn't get over the winning line in front, but they are 2 very, very good horses, and 2 horses that I think we both think will be future stars, and they both ran on the Friday. That was Lulamba, how that was beaten, I don't know. And also the Big Westerner ran an absolutely superb race and probably got in a pocket of trouble at the wrong time in the race. I'm not sure whether it cost it or not, but Lulamba and the Big Westerner, superb on the Friday in defeat that was.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Westerner, first of all, Dave, she nearly got us into the green big time, didn't she? We were in the team sheet at 25-1 and travelling down the hill. We watched the race together, and I think you said to me, your quid's in here, because she was just doing everything right. I think the first, down to the first two hurdles, she was quite keen, in fairness, but she looked the winner travelling down the hill. I mean, she was just full of running. And this horse, we knew she'd stay all day. The ground, would she want the ground to be a little bit softer? Probably. I think, over fences next year, she's going to be a serious force to be reckoned with. Maybe back in against her own sex in the Mayor's Chase and the new course over 2.5 miles could suit her, because she's not slow. She's not short of boot. But just this performance, she got blocked, didn't she, a couple of times. Wingman, I think, made a mistake in front of her at a crucial time. I mean, Paul Townend, no jockey rides the new course like Paul Townend. He just had the clean run of things on the outside, came to swoop. The Big Westerner got blocked, obviously, by Wingman, who made a mistake in front of her. And when Darrow went to switch as well, when they did turn in, she got blocked the second time. So I'm not saying it would have definitely changed the result, but I think it was she definitely didn't get luck and running from the back of the second last. And she definitely is a serious animal, to run like she did. I think she was only the third mare in the last 10 years, Dave, to actually run in an Albert Bartlett, the hustle and bustle of that race on just her third start over hurdles. I thought it was an absolutely phenomenal effort. And Lulamba, I think he's the one to take out of the triumph. To me, he looked the winner. Did he get to the front too soon? I'm not entirely sure. I think the winner's a good horse, by the way, even though he went off 100-1. But I just think they went very hard early in the contest. And, Lulamba, East India Dock, they got caught up a little bit in a jewel there up top. And I just think maybe this is a horse next year. He's next year's horse, and he was heading into the festival, wasn't he?
Certainly was, no doubt about it. Right, Barry, what about horses that ran at Cheltenham that we've taken out for the future? Let's start off and look at a couple of those. Firstly, with Dufflecoat.
Dufflecoat went off a massive price in the National Hunt Chase, Dave. And I mean, he was second in a Galway plate. And I mean, you think 3 mile 6 would really be tailor-made for Dufflecoat. I'm just surprised at the price he went off, really, against Haughty Killorn, the National Hunt Chase. He was brought down. He was running a cracking race. He always hits that flat spot in his race. So even over 3 mile 6, I wasn't surprised to see that. But I thought he was running on well, and he got brought down at a crucial time. I thought he was definitely going to be placed. And who knows, he could have challenged the winner. Dufflecoat, for me, I thought was a big eye catcher for Gordon Elliott in that National Hunt Chase. That was definitely one, I think, to keep on side.
Another one that could be very much to keep on side, 40 Coats, who ran another interesting one. Of course, that was one of your 10 to follow, if memory serves me right, from the very start of the season. So
outpaced Dave at the top of the hill. Obviously, the race, you mentioned the front three home, look really good animals. Final Demand, obviously, the New Line, and the Yellow Clay as well. But yeah, 40 Coats outpaced at the top of the hill, and it was eye-catching how he came up the hill. I think decent ground, 3 miles on a fence, 40 Coats. He's a horse that I was just, considering he's a maiden coming into the Cheltenham Festival, to finish fourth in a Turner's, staying on well. I thought he'd done his best work from the back of the last. And yeah, he definitely caught the eye in the Jones colours back and forth in the Turners.
Let's look at Jigs Forge, of course, who also was eye-catching at Cheltenham.
Yeah, we were working on the day, Dave, and I think we had said that 125-1 could be a massive price for each way purposes on Jigs Forge. And this horse has a lot of natural ability, a lot of natural pace, and travelled into the race absolutely beautiful. I thought was given a fantastic ride by Ben Jones. Finished 6th in the, of course, Albert Bartlett, and of course, Connections last year, obviously with their stable number 1, finished were just touched off with the Jukebox Man. So heading into the race, I thought Jigs Forge was overpriced. I thought he ran an absolute cracker, and I'd say stepping back and trip on a little bit of softer ground, actually, he could be seen to better effect. So yeah, Jigs Forge, a nice horse to go to war with. Not saying he's an absolute superstar, but I thought he ran with great credit in the Albert Bartlett for Ben Pauling.
Now, it might seem a long time away, Cheltenham 2026, Barry, but you've been already knocking a couple together to get a nice early lucky 15 on for the 2026 festival.
Yeah, look, we'll start with the short price one, Dave, and 5-1. Look, you know my love affair with Final Demand and the run at Cheltenham. I think, as I mentioned, look, I think softer ground 3 miles, this horse will be seeing the best effect. So 5-1, I think he's for me, he looks really solid at that type of price. I can see him, contracting plenty after the Brown Advisory. Can't wait to see him over a fence. Can't wait to see him over 3 miles, and I can't wait to see him on softer ground once again. So 5-1 Final Demand for the Brown Advisory. I'm going to put into the mix, Dave, 6.5. Now, this was a horse that for the Mayor's Hurdle at 14-1. This is a horse that I think heading into the festival, Dave, I was just a little bit suspect. Experience was one thing over hurdles. And I wanted to see her put in a performance like she did. I know plenty were disappointed she got beaten. I have to say I hadn't a cent on her on the day, but I was just so impressed with how she travelled through her race, the way she jumped, how professional she was, and I just think stamina can be stamina is probably the biggest attribute you need for a Mayor's Hurdle. I mean, we see Tell Me Something Girl, obviously this year Air of Entitlement. You need to do your best work at the finish. In a Mayor's Novice. It is on the new course. It's over 2 mile and a furlong. And, Stamina's won the day here. But I think this horse has plenty of pace. And if you look at speed horses, obviously Lost Him Out has won a Mayor's Hurdle. Sometimes they can go that little bit steady early and it can turn into a speed contest, the Mayor's Hurdle. And I think it would be, step up and trip, steer on the flat, steer over hurdles. I don't take a step up and trip is going to be any issue to this horse whatsoever. In actual fact, it could help her, to quicken off maybe a slow pace early on in a Mayor's Hurdle could really suit 6.5. She's top quality. I was really impressed with her performance in defeat. 14-1 for a Mayor's Hurdle. She goes into the mix. I mentioned He Can't Dance, Dave, 33-1. I just think that's massively overpriced. For an Albert Barrett, a stellar story one, of course, the Gigginstown Stakes for Gordon Elliott a couple of seasons ago. Always has a couple of live darts to throw into the mix in that Albert Barrett, and he looks a galloper and a stayer. And on softer ground, if it did turn up soft on a Friday, I think 33-1, that could be massive. And Jimmy Desai, 16-1 for the Stairs Hurdle. He could come into the mix, Dave, as well. Rated as mentioned, 153. Another win away from being a top contender. In something like a Stairs Hurdle. And Willie Mullins, to me, at this point in time, doesn't have an obvious Stairs contender. This could be one.
Entry, Punchestown and Fairyhouse still to come, and still plenty to look forward to the end of the National Hunt season.
Absolutely, Dave, and really looking forward to seeing 6.5 out again. I think maybe at Fairyhouse, if she was to show up once again, I thought she'd have a massive chance in that contest there. And yeah, really looking forward to it, Dave. Day-by-day videos for entry, day-by-day videos for the Punchestown Festival, the Boylesports Irish Grand National as well, coming up as well. So lots more coming up on the channel between now and the rest of the campaign. And just a big congratulations, Dave, once again to Mark Lewis, of course, the winner of our VIP competition to the Boylesports Irish Grand National. And the healthiest looking portfolio, some serious selections there heading into the festival. He did get unlucky with 1 or 2, Dave, but a big congratulations to Mark from Kildare. And get in touch, of course, via our social media, and we'll get you sorted with those VIP tickets to the Boylesports Irish Grand National. But Dave, it's my absolute pleasure on the series. Big thank you to all our guests, of course, who contributed on the challenge to the course of the season. We're delighted once again to be in profit, of course, on the series for yet another season. 4 out of 5, Dave, as Meatloaf would say. I think it was 2 out of 3 in bad, but 4 out of 5 isn't bad in terms of profit on the series. We look forward to doing it all again this season. And they're the big winners, of course, this year. Lecky Watson with a big performance in the Brown Advisory, the massive price, 16-1. Hody Kalor put into the mix, 13-2 for the National Hunt Chase. And Daryl Jacob contributing with Factifile. It could have been the decider, Dave. Daryl Jacob putting Factifile in at 9-4 for the Ryanair Chase. That got us into the profit. And as mentioned, a big thank you to everyone who contributed through the course of the season, putting their selections down below. And one last thing, Dave, let us know down below, because we want to read all these comments and get some maybe inspiration for next year. But let us know your number one pick for the Cheltenham Festival 2026. At this point in time, He Can't Dance, Dave, at 33-1. That is my Ante-Post selection for Cheltenham 2026, because for the Albert Barrett at 33-1, that just looks far too big. What's your thoughts?
Yes, I have to agree with you. No doubt about it. There's plenty you can put forward for next year. And I think wherever 6.5 is going to show up at Cheltenham, if the ground turns up very, very nice next spring, it'll certainly be the one, because I think there's plenty of improvement to come. Well, Barry, as always, great Road to Cheltenham series. And we've plenty more to come on the weekly Champ.ie podcast, as we, of course, build up to entry to Punchestown and to Fairyhouse. And once again, as Barry said, 4 out of 5 years in profit on the show, and plenty to look forward to. And a final reminder as well, if you haven't yet donated to the great cause, Theo Barry's son, of course, born just before Christmas, raising money for Hollow Street. Any donation at all would be greatly accepted, very close to the €2,000 mark, and it would be great to get to that one. So if you can, please donate. The link is in the comment section below. From Barry and myself, that's it from the show, the Road to Cheltenham Challenge review. Until we see you very, very soon, thank you for joining us.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.